What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Real Reds Talk, the heart and soul of authentic football fan culture, and welcome to Pros and Cons, a show where we nag about the negatives but praise the positives. And today is obviously going to be, well, today's episode, whatever you want to call it, is going to be about the game yesterday against Aston Villa. And I think there's plenty of things to discuss on both sides of the game, and then also heading into this international break, I think there's so many things that we need to discuss as well. So yeah, look, the game in itself, it was boring, it weren't great. You have to call a spade, and there was reasons for both of that, but there are still some kind of intricate little details that I definitely want to get into. And coming into this game, I thought for sure we was going to get absolutely obliterated, and it was going to be Ten Hag's funeral, and we was all going to be sat here with three-piece suits on, saying, you know, looking back at his time and on his FA Cup wins and the Carabao Cup, and, you know, some sad emotional music behind it and all that kind of stuff. But no, I don't think we're not at that process yet, or we're not at that stage. At least I don't think. There is going to be a huge meeting tomorrow with the hierarchy. I believe Joel Glazer's flying in. Dan Ashworth's going to be there. I think, you know, Jim Ratcliffe. Discussing the manager's future. So that's obviously huge and significant, but the reports that are already coming out after the game suggest that he might just scrape and might just cling on to his job. But I'll get into that a little bit more towards the end. This is pros and cons. So for anyone who hasn't seen it before, we always start off with the negatives and try and finish on the positives. So this is the negatives I thought and I saw from my point of view from the Villa game. So let's just dive straight into it. So first up, recruitment. Now, why am I saying recruitment? The reason is because we have spent on a combined pair who Ten Hag has brought in, Lisandro Martinez and Matheus de Ligt. We've brought them in for a combined fee of £100 million. Harry Maguire and Johnny Evans started the game yesterday because they were so poor against Porto. So that's the first one. Ugarte was on the bench. You spent 50 million quid for this player, pushing him, and then you're starting Christian Eriksen as a 6, which is bizarre to me. The bench yesterday cost a total of £480 million. If you watch how Brighton play yesterday, they are a pure example of you do not need to spend shitloads of money just to have a good team. Because the players that were on the bench yesterday cost about 5 times as much as Brighton's team. Get on that. Absolutely crazy. So we had all our talent that we recruited. Casemiro was recruited under Ten Hag. Anthony was recruited under Ten Hag. De Ligt, Lisandro was recruited under Ten Hag. Ugarte was recruited under Ten Hag. This new Ineos structure was supposed to come in, bring top talent for good prices. And I think a lot of people was happy over the summer, including myself. I thought we did relatively well. You know, Yoro, Xerxes, De Ligt, Mazraoui for 50 million. Like, good prices, good deals, I would say. Same with Ugarte as well. Ineos didn't kind of budge on that, and they brought it down slightly. But you have to say, so far, they've not exactly hit the ground running, have they? I mean, even Xerxes, when he came on as a sub yesterday, looked really stiff and slow. De Ligt has been, you know, he had a good period. We scored against Southampton, good couple of games against Palace, and then had an absolute nightmare against Porto. Lisandro hasn't necessarily been on it since the start of the season. He's been here 3 seasons now. He's had a really underwhelming start. So, yeah, look, most people said it was a good summer. I don't blame him for that at all, but why are a lot of these signings on the bench and can't get into the team? Why can't we trust these signings to get into the starting 11? That's a huge concern. And why did we not buy a fucking left-back? Because now Mazraoui's picked up an injury. I'm not sure how significant that is. I don't know if it's going to be a couple of weeks or maybe it's just a small, minute kind of detail, just a couple of days. But let's, for hypothetical sake, let's just say he is out for a few weeks. You are straight back to Victor Lindelof at left back or right back, whichever way Dalot goes. That's how easy it can decline your back line. And I'll get onto the clean sheets a little bit later on, which has surprised me and surprised a lot of United fans. But we needed a left back. It was so obvious, and I think they're going to end up getting him on in January because Shaw's been pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. Malacia is still a process at the moment, so we don't know what's happening with that. Yeah, I just feel like we should have brought one in. Not to mention this recruitment, what was being told to us as United fans when Ineos first came in was, so this recruitment is aligned with the style of play that we want to see at Manchester United. So you're like, right, okay. But then you see former Ajax players coming in, Mazraoui and De Ligt, and obviously a few Dutch players in like Xerxes and that as well. So what happens now if Ten Hag goes, you sack him during the international break, which I don't think is going to happen, by the way. But if they do that, let's say you bring in a Thomas Tuchel, two of your signings are null and void then straight off the bat because he didn't really rate him at Bayern Munich. They weren't, first starters there. And then there'll be other players that are coming out. So, you know what I'm saying? So how is that then aligned with the style of play? Maybe you can come back at me on that and say, well, they won't go and get Tuchel. They might go and get someone else. In which case, okay, we'll have a conversation. But that just, yeah, I don't know. That was bizarre to me. Some of the decisions, very, very bizarre. The manager can't trust that amount of talent. Is that not an indictment on the recruitment? Do we not think? I don't know. But anyway, we'll move into the game itself because there was a couple of worrying things on there as well. And obviously, feel welcome to get any of your positives or negatives in there, and we will discuss them together as well. It's not just my show, it's your show as well. So I'm happy to have a conversation about anything. On to the next one. The ref was extremely card happy. You know it's a 0-0 draw when you're speaking a lot about the ref, don't you? My God. 5 yellow cards within 90 minutes, and we had 11 fouls. Okay? Aston Villa had 12 fouls and 1 yellow in the 94th minute. For Ross Barkley, I think it was. Make sense. Now, I'm not saying the challenges individually when you put them in isolation. Marcus Rashford, there was argument, maybe he could have been sent off. So maybe that brings it back up a little bit. I'm not saying the challenges themselves, they weren't bookable offences. That's not what I'm disputing. But I'm just saying, one, he would not let the game flow. He'd blow his whistle for everything. Every little, small challenge, it was like, there's yellow, fucking yellow, blah, blah, blah. And this is a ref who has had a little bit of... His name's Rob Jones. So anytime a ref has a bad performance, I'm a little bit petty. Petty? Yeah, I am a little bit petty. I'll go and look at the name and, past performances and what they've done. And with the same ref, there was a performance between Forest and Bournemouth where he sent off Willy Boly for 2 yellows, I think it was, within 20 minutes. And the second one was extremely harsh. There was one against Wolves in Sheffield where he gave a really bad soft call penalty in the last minute as well. So... yeah, I just think the standard of officiating in England, considering we have the best league in the world, we don't have the best officiating in the world. I think in Europe and UEFA and World Cup competitions, I think it's done much better. But look, it's not a catastrophic performance from the referee. I just thought he had a bad game in particular. I thought the first 45 in particular was shocking. But yeah, what do you guys think? Let me know. Yeah, we'll keep an eye on Rob Jones and see how he moves forward in his next couple of games. Okay. Greedy Garnacho. Really, 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 really annoyed me yesterday. I said this in the post-match review with Sam. I was pulling my hair out. It's so wasteful, so greedy. No crosses into the box. Times where he could have played Rasmussen or squared it and ignored it. Running into, 2 or 3 Villa players when it's just, there's nothing on. He's trying to force it. He's trying to rush it. And I feel like they're elements of what a lot of our players have. They're trying to rush it or force it, and they want to be the guy to get the goal or the assist, or, well, not the assist in Garnacho's case, but, he's trying these extremely low XG shots from outside of the box that aren't coming off. I think football is a team sport, and if you're not treating it, if you're treating it like an individual sport, especially in this United team, you're going to stick out like a sore thumb. And I thought Garnacho had a poor game yesterday, and I actually think with the past couple of games, he's been pretty poor. We had a run at the start of the season where, made an impact in the Community Shield, was coming off the bench and made an impact in, numerous games after that, and had a record where it was like an average assist or goal every 36 minutes, which is fantastic. But his overall game, I don't know if he's a starter at the minute. That's the difference. On the left-hand side, I'd rather start Marcus. Just based on what they both offer at the minute. And that can be flippant. That can chop and change. On the right side, I would usually prefer Ahmad, but then Ahmad's been a bit quiet as well. I'm not sure how he didn't get any minutes either yesterday. But yeah, I think we need combinations. We need the front three to be looking out for each other and just start getting... It doesn't matter who fucking scores them. You don't have to be the guy who gets the goals. We just want to see some goals, some combinations. So if it means having to square it, we don't necessarily want to do it to get a goal, then do it. You know what I mean? It's just greedy. Absolutely greedy. One thing I will say, though, is, and again, this is another one that's on the negatives, Højlund's first touch needs a lot of work on. a lot of work on. You look at the two different profiles of strikers that we've got. You've got Joshua Zirkzee, great touch, hold-up play and link play is fantastic, technically sound, not the quickest, can't run in behind, not necessarily a goal threat, right? And then you flip that script. You look at Rasmus Højlund, strong, physical runner, can run into channels, decent finisher, but his first touch is like a donkey. My God, 2, 3, 4 times potentially. It was fizzed into him at a pace and it just couldn't stick to it. It'd bounce off him like a game of Wally. Or when I think he was through on goal, like 1v1 maybe with Diego Carlos, I think it was. And he was running at him and his first touch, where he accelerated, just completely went away from him and killed it off. So I'm sure... I'm absolutely positive that Ruud van Nistelrooy is going to be working on him with stuff like this. And even during the game, he was speaking to him as well, giving him like little minute details and stuff. And obviously, you're going to listen to someone like him because he's one of the greatest strikers to ever play for Manchester United, probably the best finisher that we've had. So if you're going to learn off anyone, he's the perfect example. But your first touch, you can work on it for sure, those kind of things. I also think sometimes it's just natural. I mean, we had Dimitar Berbatov in the studio last night doing the analysis for the game as a pundit. He's probably got the best touch ever out of any United player. I mean, talk about Velcro and technique. He was, yeah, unbelievable. So another one you could probably learn from, but he hasn't got that glue. He can't, and I think if he did, he'd become much more of a threat. But he is just coming back as well. You know, he's not had a proper pre-season, had a massive injury, of course, as well. So, look, I'm not going to be too harsh on him, but I just thought that was something that stuck out last night and was really annoying me. On to the next one. I was supposed to say shocking stats, but it says shocking stats. So, yeah, you can have that one if you want. Man United have now failed to score in 6 of their 7 Premier League games this season. No team has failed to do so more often in the competition this season. United have gone from 12th in XG in an injury-ravaged season to 12th again after another £200 million spent without an injury crisis. That's another concern. Worst start to a season after 7 games, 8 points, beating his record from last season. 5 goals in the league so far, and 3 of them came against Southampton in terms of goals scored. This is a massive, massive, massive issue. Where the fuck are goals going to come from this season? I remember we were discussing the dynamic over the summer of who should we bring in as a striker. Should it be an experienced, seasoned striker who's been around the block, won trophy, has scored in Europe, and then Rasmus can learn off him? Or do we bring in a younger talent to compete with Rasmus, maybe a different profile, you know, e.g. Joshua Zirkzee, have them compete and push each other for goals? That hasn't worked out, that Zirkzee Højlund thing. So far, it hasn't. I know it's early on in the season, but we're not scoring goals. And when you bring in someone like a Joshua Zirkzee, we've said it before, there is a heavy reliance on the wingers to, to deliver, and they haven't done. None of them have done. I'm not even sure if there's a player that we've got that scored over a goal in the Premier League, or maybe over 2 goals. Let me have a look. Man United top scorers. That's just off the top of my head. Maybe Rashford's got a couple, potentially. Right. Let's go. This season. Sorry, just 2 seconds. I'm just curious. Yeah, so... let's have a look. 1 goal. Ahmad has got 1 goal. Rashford, 1 goal. Garnacho, 1 goal. Joshua Zirkzee, 1 goal. And Matthijs de Ligt, 1 goal. That's where we're at. I'm thinking Southampton. Rashford scored, didn't he? Then de Ligt scored. Who scored the third? Because I know Ahmad scored against Brighton. Zirkzee scored against Fulham. So was it Garnacho? It's interesting, isn't it? But yeah, that's a huge concern for me, and that's the end of the negatives. But I'll go into the comments to see what you guys are saying. Sean saying I have no idea what I want or what to expect anymore from this club. It's best to not have any expectations and just wait and see how things go. This is no way going to be an easy turnaround. Andy's saying, I'm fully Ineos out if they're accepting this crap once you go into trying not to get to lose out. Ahmad must have farted in the changing rooms. What's he done? Dan Errington saying, Garnacho is Rashford 2.0. It's an interesting take. From what I can tell, no teams in the league bar 1 or 2 have had bad luck with our injuries. Good afternoon to Richard, who's just joining us in the chat as well. Good afternoon to everyone, actually. How are we all individually? That's more the important point. How are you all doing? Are you good? Are we feeling good? Probably not, because it's international break and no one gives a shit about England, and it's just these 2 weeks are going to drag. But what we're going to do on this channel is we're going to bring some decent, different forms of content for you, so you've got a multiple range to choose from. Obviously, kicking off with pros and cons because the game was yesterday, but then we've got a load of things lined up for the next 2 weeks. So, look, wherever you're going through in life, whatever it is that you're struggling with, if you are struggling, yeah, at least we can take our minds off it for 20 minutes. Whatever shit situation you're in, and hopefully discuss the team that we love, even though they're not loving us back at the minute. They're fucking shocking. Right. So get your comments in, smash the like on the video, subscribe. We're going to get into the positives now, or at least what I think are the positives. And there's only one place to start with this one. Only one place. Is it Baresi or is it Johnny Evans? Who fucking knows? What a performance from this geezer yesterday. A lot of noise about Maguire and Evans starting. And when we did the pre-match build-up, me, Shreyas, Dan, we said the same thing. We were sat there going, why is he starting Maguire and Evans? What's going on? How are you dropping De Ligt and Lissandro? Not because they've been great, because the performance against Porto was dog shit. But it was just it was a bizarre thing. You don't really change your centre-backs unless you're unhappy with the way they performed in the game the week before. So, obviously, he weren't impressed with De Ligt and Lissandro. He thought they were shocking. Brought in these two. And Maguire was good as well. But Johnny Evans in particular, I thought he really, really did roll back the ears. It was a defensive masterclass. And I saw Graham Potter speaking about this, actually. He said, sometimes in football, it's less important to be fast. It's more important to be on time, in the right position on time. Any young defender watching there, it's almost like a masterclass about how to use your strengths. He had 3 clearances, 1 block shot, 4 tackles, 6 out of 7 ground duels won, 5 out of 5 aerial duels won, and 1 shot off target as well. A man of the match performance, and for a free signing for someone who's 35, 36 years old, didn't have a club and was actually just training with the team for fitness, to come in and play the amount of games that he did last season and then come in this season and arguably put in, which is, you know, the bar's very low in this one, but one of the best defensive performances that we've seen is amazing. You know, at the age of 36, like a fine wine, wasn't it, Johnny Baresi? I think he was, yeah, really, really good. And to be honest, you sat there now, you're like, he's got to start the next game if he's performing like that. I thought for sure Watkins, Duran, Rodgers, all these physical runners off the but I thought he was going to fucking tear him a new one. Like Gravenberch, McAllister, Diaz, Salah did to our backline when we played him at Old Trafford. I thought he was going to run as ragged. And like Potter touched on there, his timing, his anticipation. A lot of people in the modern era now, when they look at defending, they always just look at, like, I don't know, your Van der Ven's. I think Van der Ven's a good defender, but they look at him strong, quick, tall, is an amazing defender. But they don't look at the other side of the game. Intelligence, anticipation, spatial awareness, you know, knowing when to step up, knowing when to drop off. The little dark arts of the game as well. Those kind of things. Which is why, you know, you look at some of the greatest centre-backs ever. John Terry was never, ever quick and rapid. Baresi was never, ever quick. And Nestor, like, you know, through them all, they weren't necessarily rapid. They just knew when to go and when not to. It's all about intelligence as well up here. And I think Johnny... And look, I'm not comparing... It's obviously tongue-in-cheek. I'm not comparing Johnny Evans to Nestor, Maldini, Baresi, these kind of guys. It's tongue-in-cheek. I'm just making a joke. But he was good. He was really, really good. So I was happy with that performance. And that kind of intertwines with the next positive, which is 4 clean sheets we've got. Did you guys know that? 4 clean sheets so far. Somehow. Fulham, Southampton, Palace, Villa. 2 wins, 2 draws within those games. Doesn't feel like that. I don't know why. Maybe because of Europe, FC20 conceding after going up, and then Porto conceding after going up. But get on this. Here's the facts of the day for you. Andre Onana is top of the Golden Glove list at the minute. No, is it Golden Glove list? I don't know. And let me start that again, because I feel like this needs a proper introduction. Just get ready for this. At the top of the Golden Glove list is Andre Onana. 4 clean sheets so far this season. He's ahead of Alisson for Liverpool. He's ahead of Nick Pope for Newcastle. He's ahead of David Raya for Arsenal. And he's ahead of Sanchez for Chelsea. He's at the top. 4 clean sheets. I was like, oh my, I cannot believe that. And the amount of stick he's got, which I don't get. I really, really do not get. Last season I get it, because he made awful, awful errors. But he's actually been good especially the past couple of games. Like, he's fucking stopped from 7 goals going in at times. He's been really, really good. So this narrative with De Gea, I know De Gea had a good performance for Fiorentina last night. I think he saved 2 penalties, didn't he? Which is amazing. I'm really, really happy for him. But I think Onana is coming now, and I think he's done really, really well this season. He seems really settled. The build-up from the back's getting better as well. Yeah, I think it's been good. I think it's been decent. So how can that not be a positive when we're discussing the Villa game? Happy with him in a minute. Somehow he's leading the race for the Golden Boot, which I just find mad, utter madness in my opinion. But yeah, great stuff. Okay, I thought he was much better on the ball as well. I wouldn't say sustainable, but there was periods in the game where the runs off the ball, combinations, triangles, movement was really, really good. When you saw Mainu, Eriksen, Bruno, kind of tucking in, and then like Mazraoui, the triangles between those, and playing out of pressure as well from the back is something that's mega. I think the build-up was better as well. So these things there, and the build-up, I think Ten Hag referenced it against Porto as well. The build-up for the first 30, 40 minutes was really decent. So there's improvements there, and they keep referencing that they're seeing it in training. They are seeing so many positives in training, and there's so much progression, and they're doing really, really well. But for some bizarre reason, there is a blurred line when they step onto the pitch that they just can't seem to communicate that message over. Look, people aren't having Ten Hag, and I get it. But there has been periods where you've watched us and you're like, that's really nice football. I've seen that kind of stuff at Ajax, but they just don't do it enough on a frequent basis. And the excuse last season was because we had so many injuries. So patterns are just, kind of disrupted. You've got players playing in positions they're not comfortable in. Certain passing angles are cut off when you don't have a left footer there. So those kind of things, I understand. But this season, you haven't got an excuse because you've got almost all your players fit and available. But that was something, just a small one, positive. Maybe some people wouldn't have included that, but I'm stretching. I'm, clutching at straws here at this point. And then the last positive, and then we'll dive into your guys. So make sure you lot get yours in, because that's equally as important. I want to discuss those. If there's any that I've missed at all, get them in the chat, and we'll talk about it. But yeah, the last one I had was no gloomy break, no gloomy international break. And the reason why I say that is because I think, had we got absolutely smashed yesterday, 4 to 5-0, and then you go into the international break and you've got to sit there for 2 weeks on a bad result, I hate doing that. I absolutely hate it. And then you're like, oh, it's just going to be talk. There's going to be talk now anyway of what's going on with the manager. I mentioned at the start of the video there's a huge meeting going on between the hierarchy at United. So there's obviously, they're going to make a decision either way, but I just felt like if we would have lost that as well after the Porto game and then the Spurs game, it would have been a really, really negative vibe. And it isn't that. I thought it would have been Ten Hag funeral, basically. Obviously, speaking in a metaphorical sense, I thought we would have been just saying, yeah, it's just a matter of time now before he goes. I'm waiting for that inevitable announcement, but now it's more kind of lingering in the air. And there's no giant negative cloud, but there is question marks still over the manager's future. So, look, it's a good time to assess style, results, progression, and options for Ineos. They've got some really strong decisions to make this week, and I hope they make the right decisions. I really do, because this season so far has not started off the way a lot of United fans thought it would. And yeah, they've got some tough decisions to make. Oh, throat was dry as fuck. Sorry. Let's get a swig of a drink. Right, what are we saying, guys? Come on. Give me some stuff. I want to have a discussion. You guys are smart enough. You've watched United enough. I want to hear some positives, some negatives, whatever you've got in your head when you was watching that game yesterday. Or just thoughts in general. There's quite a few of you in the chat. So, yeah, get involved. Spurs and Liverpool have scored more goals than United at Old Trafford in the league. That is a, wow, crazy stat. Like I said, no idea what to think anymore. I think it's hard to understand because there's information we're not privy to. That's a great point as well. Johnny was fantastic yesterday. We all know he can do it for the whole season. His body won't let him. Yeah, it was crazy, innit? You know what? When he came in, I think he's the typical example. I mean, here's another one where a lot of the big fan channels and the popular fan channels were absolutely slagging this off, saying, "Oh, what an embarrassment! Why are you bringing him in?" and blah blah blah. And if you actually look, he's probably one of the better pieces of business that we've done. He's on a free first and foremost. And had he not been available for some games, I mean, you're really dropping the bar. You've got no one there to play at all. So I can only really praise that man. I'm going to say things like Baresi and Nesta. It's obviously tongue-in-cheek, but I actually think it's been really good. It's performed better than our other centre-backs, who cost a combined fee of like 100 million quid, innit? So, yeah, I think it's been good. On the ball was good till halfway line, but after that, meh. Yeah, the final third in general, just goals, combinations. It just looks like a bunch of individuals. It looks like, the best way to describe it is, you know, when you've got a five-a-side and a couple of your mates drop out and you get anyone in, that's what our attack looks like. It's the best way to describe it. Nick, would you keep Erik ten Hag or have Ruud as interim until summer? If Ruud, realistically, who would you bring in as a manager in summer? So yeah, a couple of things on that. Ruud van Nistelrooy, I've mentioned this a couple of times before, but I was doing a video for him, which I still need to drop, by the way. I've been mad busy, but yeah, with Ruud van Nistelrooy, if you've watched him at PSV, he does have a similar style to Erik ten Hag, very direct. He relies on transitions, heavy reliance on the wingers. And in Europe, he didn't really have a plan B. In the league, he was decent. He got a respectable finish. I think he finished 7 points behind Feyenoord. Won a couple of cups with PSV as well. So he did a decent job, and defensively he was pretty good as well. But he had like one route and would stick to that. And when a manager came up with an answer for that route, he didn't really have a plan B, which sounds, you know, there's a lot of comparisons with Erik ten Hag there. And also, don't forget, right now, he is a part of the coaching structure that, you know, is applying this style and coaching our current players right now. So you have to think, well, you're going to make him interim. He's coaching the players at the minute. So, look, people will then say, well, ten Hag has more of a say in what style he wants to do. Of course he does. Of course he does. I'm not disputing that. But I'm just saying, don't think it's going to be all rosy and merry with Ruud van Nistelrooy, because I know a lot of people love him. That connection with him, like there was with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, like obviously he's a former player, scored a lot of goals for us, and he has that character and personality, whereas I think ten Hag doesn't really have that. I think ten Hag comes across a little bit like a head teacher, whereas Ruud is like the supply teacher who gets on with the players. I think that's the best way to describe it. But I think maybe you'll get a bit of a manager bounce, potentially. But again, we've seen this chapter before. Give it a couple of months, they'll be throwing him under a bus, and we'll talk about a new manager. So I don't necessarily believe this might be going against the grain, and people might not disagree with it. People might not agree with it, sorry. I don't necessarily think that's the best option, bringing an interim in. I could be absolutely wrong on this. And like I said, there will be a honeymoon period with that, but I don't see it. So I don't know. I also don't think they're going to bring in a new manager over the international break. I think ten Hag saved his job by the skin of his teeth, and I think he's going to be in here until December, potentially the next international break, depending what happens. And maybe they'll bring in Ruud for 6 months and bring in a new manager then, if results really get bad, which they already are. But in terms of in the summer, who I would like to bring in, it's weird because right now I feel like we need discipline. I feel like we need to be good tactically, and we need a clear style, and we need to be hard to beat. And I think Inzaghi or Tuchel would bring that initially. But you know what? I wouldn't dismiss other coaches who aren't necessarily the big names. I think McKenna's a fantastic coach, but is he ready for that step up? It's not the tactics that I'd be worried about then. It'd be dealing with the other side of things, because, you know, the scrutiny at Man United is massive. And then equally Thomas Frank as well. I think Thomas Frank's an unbelievable coach, but people turn their nose up at him because he's a Brentford coach. But what he's done for Brentford to maintain them in the league year in, year out, tactically what he offers as well. From set pieces, they're fantastic. They're hard to beat. They're quite attacking offensively as well. You look at the goals that scoring this season, like he's really getting a tune out of these players. I think he's a good coach, but I think people just dismiss him because it's Thomas Frank. It's like, oh, no, don't want that. I just want a big name. And I disagree with that. Who had heard of Brighton's coach before he came in? You know, he was a guy who got St. Pauli promoted in the second German league, and he's come in and done a fantastic job. So it doesn't have to, like scouting, it doesn't always have to be a mega name. You can bring someone in who people may disagree with at first, but it's just got to be the right decision. Dan saying, I haven't seen Xerxes put in a good performance yet. I'm just not taking to him. He could play up top with Holland. Will he play as a 10? So drop Bruno deeper. Yeah, I don't know, with Xerxes, I thought when he first came in, he had obviously scored in his first game, so you're like, okay. And then a couple of games after that, he was performing well, just wasn't taking his chances. I just think the game in isolation yesterday wasn't great for him when he came on. He looked a bit stiff. But yeah, I don't know. It's a bit early to assess him just yet. It's mad Erik Ten Hag's best players are the ones he didn't sign. Yeah. McMillan, who is the right candidate to replace Erik Ten Hag? If the next guy isn't good, and we're in the situation again, remember when we were raving about Ten Hag when he was coming in? Yeah, I know. And like I said this before, there's similar comparisons with Ruud. Always done really well in the Eredivisie. Look at his points per match. Look at these stats and da. People always think the grass is greener on the other side. It doesn't necessarily work out like that. And we know that as United fans, we've been burnt before. Ruud and Erik Ten Hag on bench looks like a fight waiting to happen. Look, I think it's very normal. That's blown out of proportion for me. I think it's very normal for coaches to have a disagreement on certain things, whether it's tactically or, it happens all the time. You see it all the time. With Pep and his assistant, Arteta and his assistant, it's a thing. I won't make too much of that. I think the media did, though. I agree, Nick. I don't think Ruud as an interim is the answer. As bad as it would be, I'd keep Ten Hag until we can find a replacement. We're just going to have to stick it out. Yeah. Look, it's difficult. It's difficult. Didn't Ruud win the league with PSV? Not to my... well, I didn't think he did. No, I thought it was the KNVB Cup and the Shield, something like that. Dutch Community Shield, maybe, or something. I mean, I might be wrong. Let me have a look. If he did, then obviously I've missed it. Because when I was doing my research on him, it just said he won a couple of cups. Before moving on, eventually named himself, where he won 2 Eredivisie titles. Right, let's have a look. That's showing his footballer awards. But let's be honest, Ten Hag won a league title as well. Ronald Koeman's won league titles. It's not everything winning an Eredivisie title. You have to be a decent coach, but why is it not showing it? When did Ruud win the league title at PSV? Yeah, why is it just gave me the fucking information, man? There we go. Signed a 3-year contract. Won the 2022 Johan Cruyff Shield, 2022 KNVB Cup. And then he resigned with 1 match remaining in the 2022 season, citing a lack of support. No mentions of a league title. It's bizarre. Anyway, I'll take your words for it. Yeah, I thought so. No, I think he won some cups at the league. Yeah, I did think he won the league. I don't know. I'm confused now. I'm confused. Yeah, I don't know what to think. Has Ruud van Nistelrooy won a league or not? Right, I'm gonna have to really get down to the bottom of this. Nistelrooy captured major silverware during his time at PSV, Eindhoven, United, and Real Madrid. The Dutchman. But then, did he lift the title as a player or as a manager? Was it? Right, there we go. Yeah, no, Ruud van Nistelrooy did not win an Eredivisie title as manager of PSV. He resigned with 1 match. Yeah, I thought so. I thought that. I just had to double check it. My brain was scrambled then. Right, I'm glad we got down to the bottom of it. But yeah, if you are just tuning in late, we have just been through the positives and negatives for a quick roundup. On the negative section, we had recruitment question marks. Again, referee was card happy. Garnacho, greedy. Rasmus, bad touch. And we had some shocking stats coming in after the game. On the positive side, we have Johnny Evans, who played like a Barese. 4 clean sheets, which is something to build on, I suppose. He was much better on the ball in periods of the game, and the international break isn't going to be as gloomy with a United drawing rather than getting smashed off Aston Villa. But look, leaves us in limbo for the next 2 weeks. There's going to be a million managers linked with the job. I mean, Sam Luckhurst has gone early on this and said that Thomas Tuchel is going to be the next manager of Manchester United already. There's a meeting on Tuesday, tomorrow, with the hierarchy about Ten Hag's future, so that's going to be interesting what comes from that. I mean, there've been more noise on that than the actual England games themselves. So, yeah, gives us fans 2 weeks to really, really think about the season and what's in store. Will things get better or will things get worse? Let's find out. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Please do leave a like on the video before you head off and subscribe to the channel. Check us out on socials for all your usual regular news updates over the international break. And yeah, we'll be back later on with a new, different kind of show. So keep an eye.